Hi guys, how are you? I hope you are doing well, no? I hope you are doing good. So this topic is all about the seminal fluid or semen analysis. Semen analysis class plays an important role in fertility evaluation, in post-vasectomy analysis, and also for medical legal cases or yung tinatawag nating forensic analysis. Again, number one, for fertility testing. Number 2, for post-vasectomy analysis. Number 3, for forensic analysis. So, yan po yung mga common na ginagawa or yan yung common na dahilan kung bakit tayo nagsisemen analysis. Okay, so yung number 1, fertility testing. So semen analysis class plays an important role in fertility testing because it helps determine whether yung abnormalities ba in sperm count, in motility, or morphology may be contributing to infertility. Okay, for number 2 naman, post-vasectomy analysis, we can also perform semen analysis to determine whether vasectomy was successful. As we all know, class, yung vasectomy is a procedure, di ba, na ginagawa sa mga lalaki who no longer wish to father children. So instead of relying only on female contraception, such as your pills, the male partner may undergo this procedure to prevent pregnancy. Post-vasectomy analysis for semen analysis. So number 3 here, the forensic analysis. As we go along with our discussion, madidiscuss din natin yan, no? Pagka may suspected rape case, pwedeng gawin ang semen analysis for forensics. So here, we have our overview. So marami-rami tayong topics na i-discuss ngayon. First thing here is the physiology of your seminal fluid, followed by specimen collection, the semen analysis from your appearance hanggang dun sa round cells natin, and the additional testings, of course, the sperm vitality up to the sperm function tests. So i-discuss natin yan. Class, yung mga naka-underline, ibig sabihin yun po yung highlight natin ng discussion. Yun yung highlight ng ongoing discussion. Alright, here, the physiology of your seminal fluid or semen. So, ang semen class, nabubuo yan because of these glands. Yung testis, epididymis, the seminal vesicle, the prostate gland, and bulbourethral glands. Alright, the testis and the epididymis. The testis class have your seminiferous tubule that is responsible for the production of your sperm. Production of sperm called spermatogenesis. Again, yung testis natin, meron yung seminiferous tubule that is responsible for the sperm production called spermatogenesis. So, the stages of cellular maturation from youngest to the most mature stage, ayan, nilagay ko po sa PowerPoint para mas ma-visualize ninyo. We have here the spermatogonia, spermatocytes, the spermatids, and your spermatozoa. And nilagyan ko din ng mnemonic para mas madali ninyong matandaan. So, you just remember goocytozoa para mas matandaan ninyo yung maturity, yung cellular maturation ng sperm from youngest to the most mature stage. So when spermatogenesis is complete, guys, the immature sperm, ayan, yung non-motile or yung immature sperm will now enter the epididymis. So in the epididymis, the sperm mature and develop flagella. Again, pagkatapos na po yung spermatogenesis, ang nangyayari, yung sperm from your testis will now go to your epididymis. And in that epididymis, magmamature yung sperm natin at magde-develop ng flagella. And yung process na yan ay tatagal approximately 90 days. Again, yung maturation, yung full maturation ng inyong sperm ay tatagal ng hanggang 90 days or minsan sobra pa nga, no? 90 days. The sperm will remain in the epididymis until ejaculation occurs. Lalabas sila, dadaan sila sa vas deferens, sa ejaculatory duct, sa urethra, and going outside. So, yun po yung nangyayari. Again, ang sperm natin, spermatogenesis, ay nangyayari sa testis, sa seminiferous tubule of your testis. Pupunta sila, yung immature or yung non-motile sperm natin will go to epididymis para mag-mature at magkaroon ng flagella. At magstay sila doon for approximately 90 days. And lalabas lang sila pagka meron ng nangyaring ejaculation or paglabas ng sperm outside the body. And mind you guys, testes and epididymis ay nagbibigay ng volume sa semen for approximately 5%. Again, 5% of the total volume of your semen came from your testes and epididymis. Alright, the next one would be your seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicle class, yung fluid from your vesicle contains high concentration of fructose and also flavine. Fructose class, sige, sulat muna natin. Fructose and your flavine. Yung fructose class, ang ginagawa niyan ay binibigyan niya ng energy yung sperm natin. Energy, yung sperm para mag-propel, para makapunta yung sperm sa kung saan man siya dapat pumunta. Yung flavine class, nagbibigay naman ng gray color appearance din sa sperm. Gray color appearance dun sa sperm natin. And mind you guys, yung flavine ay responsible din yan sa pagbibigay ng kulay blue at yellow fluorescence pagka visualize nyo yung semen natin under UV light or Woods lamp. Again, recap tayo. Yung seminal vesicle po ay may fluid na binibigay sa semen, no? Yung fluid from your vesicle ay may high concentration ng fructose and yung flavine. Yung fructose ay nagbibigay ng energy for your sperm para mag-propel, para mapunta kung saan man siya dapat pumunta, and yung flavine naman nagbibigay ng kulay gray appearance dun sa semen. And class, 60 to 70% of the total volume of your semen came from your seminal vesicle. So yung large composition ng inyong semen ay galing po sa seminal vesicle. 60 to 70%. So majority of the fluid from your semen came from your seminal vesicle. Kanina, sabi natin dito sa testis and epididymis, 5%. Yung testis and epididymis natin, nagbibigay ng 5% dun sa semen. Total volume, 5% nung total volume ng semen natin ay galing sa testis and epididymis. Yung seminal vesicle naman, roughly 60 to 70%. So madami, majority ng seminal fluid came from your seminal vesicle. Next is prostate gland. Yung prostate gland naman natin, tumutulong yan para magpatuloy or dumalo yung sperm dun sa urethra. Yung prostate gland aids in propelling the sperm throughout the urethra by constriction during ejaculation. So pagka nagkaroon ng ejaculation yung individual, nagko-constrict yung prostate gland para ma-facilitate yung paglabas ng sperm. So prostate gland po yung reason behind that. And yung ina-add po na composition ng inyong prostate gland ay acidic. Ito, the added volume is acidic which contains high concentration of acid phosphatase, ng citric acid, ng zinc and proteolytic enzymes na responsible naman for coagulation and liquefaction ng semen after ejaculation. Again, ang prostate gland po natin ay nagdadagdag ng volume dun sa semen na may mataas na concentration ng acid phosphatase, ng citric acid, ng zinc ninyo, and proteolytic enzyme. At itong apat na to responsible for both coagulation and liquefaction ng sperm. Kung merong dahilan kung bakit nagiging acid yung sperm, syempre dapat meron ding magpa-neutralize ng sperm natin, no? So yan po yung bulbourethral glands. Yung nilalabas ng bulbourethral glands ay nagpapa-neutralize ng sperm. Form thick and alkaline mucus that neutralize acidity from the prostate secretions and the vagina. So without neutralization, the sperm will become immotile. Again, no neutralization equals immotile or non-motile sperm. Ayan. Always remember that. And yung bulbourethral gland, same with your testis and epididymis. 5% of the total volume of your semen came from your bulbourethral gland. Same with your testis and epididymis. Sige, recap tayo. Testis and epididymis, 5%. Yung seminal vesicle, 60 to 70%. Yung prostate gland, approximately 20 to 30% of the total volume of your semen. And lastly, yung bulbourethral gland ay 5% of the total volume. So this is approximately 100%. So yan po yung composition, yan yung reason kung bakit merong iba't ibang composition ng semen. Yung testis, epididymis, seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and your bulbourethral gland. Recap lang. Meron tayong illustration here. You just follow ha. From here, testis, meron tayong seminiferous tubule. Kanina na diniscuss, di ba? So yung seminiferous tubule from your testis, dyan po na bubuo yung sperm, or what we call as spermatogenesis. So yung spermatids from your testis will now go to epididymis para mag-grow at para magkaroon ng flagella, para mag-grow, para mag-mature, para magkaroon ng flagella, para ma-fully develop yung sperm. Ngayon, pagka nagkaroon ng ejaculation, that's the time na lalabas yung fully matured sperm doon sa epididymis. And yung maturity ng sperm natin ay tumatagal po ng 90 days. Yung maturity. So here, pagka nagkaroon ng ejaculation from your epididymis will now go to vas deferens proceeding to your ejaculatory duct. And in here, merong nilalabas yung seminal vesicle natin na fructose and phlebin. Fructose again responsible for energy. Phlebin naman for gray appearance ng sperm. Then, meron din tayong prostate gland dito. Maglalabas naman yan ng acidic fluid or composition ng inyong semen. Like your acid phosphatase, what else? Yung zinc ninyo, ano pa? Citric acid, yung proteolytic enzyme that are responsible for both coagulation and the liquefaction ng semen. Ano pa yung dinadagdag natin? May kulang pang isa. Yung bulbourethral gland. Ito po yung nag-neutralize ng acidity dun sa semen. Para pagka pumunta at nagpropel yung sperm dun sa vagina, manu-neutralize yung acidic environment. So, after nyan, pupunta na sila sa urethra and magre-release na dun sa opening. Alright. Ito pa, yung summary para mas ma-incorporate sa inyo yung information at mas matandaan ninyo. Seminiferous tubule of your testes, spermatogenesis. Epididymis is responsible for sperm maturation. Ductus deferens or your vas deferens, dito po dumadaan yung sperm natin papunta sa ejaculatory duct. Yung seminal vesicle, nagbibigay ng nutrients for sperm and fluid, yung phlebin and yung fructose natin. Prostate gland, ayan, provides enzymes, proteolytic enzymes, and proteins for coagulation and liquefaction. Lastly, bulbourethral glands, nag-a-add ng alkalinity dun sa sperm para ma-neutralize yung acidic environment. Okay, next topic natin here ay yung specimen collection. For the specimen collection, ayan, yung general information ng specimen collection as per World Health Organization. 2 to 3 specimens can be collected in not less than 7 days or more than 3 weeks apart. So, anong ibig sabihin yan? Yung 2 to 3 specimens daw na i-collect, dapat hindi less than 7 days yung pagitan, hindi less than 7 days to 3 weeks apart. So, pwedeng every 7th day yung pagitan ng 2 to 3 specimens, at pagka yung dalawa din sa tatlo or yung parehas na specimen ay abnormal, considered as abnormal na yon. So you report it as abnormal. And then we have here the laboratory responsible of course for giving sterile glass or plastic container. Sa atin, common po ay plastic container ang binibigay natin. Leak-proof plastic container. Yung room for collection dapat ay laboratory ang nagbibigay niyan. If it's not possible, pwede rin naman na yung patient ay mag-collect sa bahay, provided na dapat ma-deliver niya within 1 hour. Kasi mahalaga yung note natin for liquefaction, no? And dapat room temperature lang. Room temperature, hindi po i-ref, hindi po galing sa ice box. Dapat room temp lang. And yung information listed below are the information needed by the lab personnel. Yung patient's name and birthday, o common na yan. Yung period of abstinence. Ang abstinence natin dito, dapat 2 to 7 days, diba? 2 to 7 days, completeness of specimen. Kasi pagka hindi mo nasama yung unang ejaculate, yung first part of the ejaculate, ang mangyayari, decreased yung sperm count. Kaya dapat complete yung specimen. Walang tapon, walang kulang. Difficulties during collection, ano po ba yung na-encounter na difficulties habang nagko-collect? And times of specimens collections, specimen receipt. So, yan yung mga kailangan ng lab personnel na information for semen analysis. Alright, so the next is your abstinence. So nabanggit ko na kanina, 'di ba? At least 2 days and not more than 7 days. Dapat class at least 2 days. 2 to 7 days abstinence. Yan po yung kailangan natin. Ang preferred manner of collection, of course, through masturbation. If not possible, only non-spermicidal, non-lubricant containing rubber or polyurethane condoms should be used. Bakit? Non-spermicidal kasi yung ibang condom po ay merong spermicidal effect. Nakakapatay siya ng sperm. So hindi natin pwedeng gamitin since tayo nga, 'di ba, magka-count tayo ng sperm, check natin yung motility, check natin yung morphology. Paano natin gagawin 'yon kung patay na yung mga sperm? Non-lubricant kasi yung iba nakakapatay din ng sperm. Kaya hindi natin ginagamit yung lubricant pagka nagko-collect through masturbation. Bawal din po 'yon. Ordinary condoms are not allowed. Dahil nga sa spermicides, because of the spermicides, kaya hindi po allowed yung ordinary condoms. Ang allowed lang ito, yung nandito sa may text, no, non-spermicidal, non-lubricant containing rubber. So special condom po ang kailangan. Also class, in addition, no, yung coitus interruptus, or also called as your withdrawal method. So, not a preferred method for semen collection. And for specimen handling, all semen specimens are potential reservoirs for HIV, herpes, hepatitis. Kaya, ititreat natin yan as infectious. Dapat, lagi naman, di ba? Yun yung nakalagay sa standard precautions. Standard precautions must be observed at all times. And specimens must be discarded, saan? In an infectious waste container. Yellow bag. Lagi. Okay. Here, sinabi ko na kanina, yung first portion ng ejaculate ay nawawala. Anong nangyayari sa sperm count? Doon bumababa, nagde-decrease yung sperm count. Kasi nga, ang pinakamataas na concentration ng inyong semen or ng sperm ay makikita sa first portion ng inyong ejaculate. O paano naman pagka yung last portion ng semen or ng ejaculate ay nawawala? E di mataas yung sperm count. Nasaan ba yung pinakamataas na concentration ng sperm ninyo? Diba nandun sa first portion? Kaya pagka yung last portion naman ang nawala, magiging sobrang concentrated ng sperm analysis. Kaya tataas ang sperm count. If the first portion of the ejaculate is missing, yung pH ay mag-i-increase. Pag naman yung last portion ang nawawala, magde-decrease naman yung pH. Kung ang first portion ay nawawala, yung specimen ay hindi po magli-liquefy. Pag naman yung last portion ang nawawala, specimen naman ay hindi naman ngayon magka-clot. And lastly, yung semen volume ay decreased. Pagka yung last portion po ng ejaculate ay hindi natin nakuha. So tingnan nyo class, bakit yung specimen ay hindi magli-liquefy pagka yung first portion ng ejaculate ay missing? Before that, tanggalin muna natin ulit yung ibang nakasulat para mas maganda sa mata. Yan, again, my question here is bakit po hindi nagli-liquefy yung specimen pagka nawawala yung first portion? Kasi class, yung first fraction ng inyong ejaculate ay mataas sa prostatic secretions. Yung prostatic secretions na yan ay merong enzyme. Again, yung first portion ng inyong ejaculate ay mataas sa prostatic secretions. Yung prostatic secretions na to, merong enzymes. Like your PSA or yung prostate-specific antigen na tinatawag. Again, yung first portion ng ejaculate ninyo mataas sa prostatic secretions na may enzyme na PSA. At yung PSA na to, siya yung responsible for liquefaction. Imagine niyo guys, nawala yung prostatic secretions, nawala yung PSA na responsible for liquefaction. Ano kaya yung mangyayari? Yung specimen hindi magli-liquefy. Next, yung pH ay falsely increased daw. Kanina, diniscuss natin yung dahilan kung bakit acidic yung semen. Sino ang nagbibigay? Yung prostatic fluid, yung prostate gland, 'di ba? So here, ano ba yung pinag-uusapan natin dito? Prostatic secretions. Kung nawala ito, edi increase yung pH kasi walang nagbibigay ng acidity. Because the acidic prostatic contribution is reduced, leaving relatively more alkaline seminal vesicle fluid. Kaya po mataas yung pH natin pagka walang first portion ng ejaculate. Vice versa, ganun naman. Pag yung last portion naman ang nawawala, decrease yung pH kasi nga mas concentrated yung PSA, yung enzymes, yung prostatic secretion. 'Di ba? Mataas sila sa first portion. Pag nawala yung last portion, mas mataas sila, mas concentrated. So common sense. Alright. So next natin here ay yung appearance down to your automated semen analysis systems. Next natin here is appearance. So in terms of color, ang normal na kulay ng sperm ay gray-white color, grayish-white color. Again, if I may ask kanina sa discussion, anong ang composition ng semen ang nagbibigay ng gray appearance? Yung ating flavin. Again, flavin po ang nagbibigay ng gray appearance sa ating semen. Mind you, pwede din maging yellowish yung kulay ng sperm. Again, yellowish kung prolong yung abstinence. Yan, yellowish kung prolong yung abstinence. And sa iba class, meron ding nakikita na red coloration. Red coloration naman, it's not normal, of course. Red coloration is due to increased amount of red blood cell in semen. And kailangan yan ng follow-up check-up kasi hindi naman normal na makakakita ka ng kulay pula or kulay dugong semen. And medications can also affect the color of your semen. Kaya pagka may nagpa-check up at nag-undergo ng semen analysis at iba yung kulay, pwede rin i-check kung ano ba yung mga tinitake na medication ng patient. Baka kasi mamaya dahil po doon, kaya nag-iiba yung kulay ng semen. Okay? So the appearance is translucent. Yung odor natin, musty or bleach-like, Clorox-like odor. So yan yung amoy usually ng semen. Increased white turbidity is usually caused by the presence of WBC or yung tinatawag nating white blood cell and possible infection within reproductive tract. So baka mamaya may infection kaya masyadong mataas yung turbidity and mataas din yung WBC, no. So follow-up check-up talaga ang kailangan. And spermatids are often mistaken as your WBC. Kaya nga sa counting class, around the cell counting natin, parehas nating tinitingnan yung white blood cell and yung spermatids kasi nga lagi siyang napagkakamalan, yung spermatids ninyo laging napagkakamalan na WBC. If lagi siyang napagkakamalan, paano natin ma-differentiate yung dalawa? So we can subject it to leukocyte esterase reagent strip test. So to screen the presence of, tingin nyo, presence of spermatids or presence of WBC. Sige, alalahanin nyo yung sa urinalysis natin. And of course, kasi nga L ito, leukocyte esterase, the presence of WBC in semen. Yan, para makita natin yung pagkakaiba ng dalawa at ma-detect natin, ma-differentiate natin yung dalawa, pwede tayong gumamit ng leukocyte reagent strip test. And to add lang class, no, pagka nagko-collect ng specimen, one collection, urination should be avoided because urine is toxic to your sperm or yung semen ninyo at makakaapekto yan sa evaluation ng sperm motility. Again, pagka po nagko-collect, dapat i-avoid ang urination dahil nakakaapekto yan sa sperm motility, sa evaluation ng sperm motility. Urination, dapat i-avoid natin yan pagka nagko-collect na dahil makakaapekto yan sa evaluation ng sperm motility. Kindly take note of this. Class, i-take note nyo lahat ng nandito sa discussion ha. Kasi baka mamaya lahat yan lumabas sa quiz ninyo. You take note. The next one is your liquefaction. Ang fresh specimen natin, usually clotted yan pagka bagong ejaculate. No, clotted po yung specimen. And yung liquefaction time ay normally 30 to 60 minutes. Failure to liquefy within 60 minutes, ibig sabihin meron siyang deficiency in prostatic enzyme and dapat ma-report. Kasi abnormal yan, abnormality. Again, yung liquefaction time natin dapat 30 to 60 minutes lang. Pagka nag-fail na mag-liquefy within 60 minutes, mayroon siyang deficiency in prostatic enzyme at dapat ma-report. And mahalaga po yung liquefaction. Kaya sabi natin kanina, pwedeng mag-collect yung patient provided na within 1 hour of collection, madala agad sa lab. And if even after 2 hours, hindi pa rin liquefied yung specimen, kailangan na po nating mag-add ng equal amount of your Dulbecos phosphate buffered saline. Again, kailangan po mag-add ng Dulbecos. Sorry, mahina sa spelling si Sir J. Dulbecos phosphate buffered saline. So yan, yung kailangan i-add equal amount. Pag after 2 hours na hindi pa rin liquefied yung specimen, yan po yung kailangan nating i-add, or yung proteolytic enzyme. Katulad ng inyong alpha chymotrypsin or bromelain. Yan, again, kung after 2 hours, paulit-ulit tayo, no? Kung after 2 hours at hindi pa rin nagli-liquefy yung specimen, yung sample, kailangan po nating magdagdag ng Dulbecos phosphate buffered saline or yung proteolytic enzyme natin, katulad ng inyong alpha chymotrypsin or yung bromelain na tinatawag, para ma-induce yung liquefaction. So, question, again, sige, sagutan ninyo, ano nga ulit yung ibig sabihin ng DPBS na ina-add natin? O lalabas yan sa quiz, ha? Ano ang ibig sabihin? Dulbecos phosphate buffered saline. Ano naman yung proteolytic enzyme na ina-add kung hindi pa liquefied yung specimen after 2 hours? Yung chymotrypsin, yung alpha chymotrypsin or yung bromelain ninyo, para ma-induce yung liquefaction. Alright. Kindly take note also, class, na yung pag-add po ng DPBS or yung proteolytic enzyme ninyo dapat documented din, no? Dahil yan po ay nakaka-interfere sa biochemical tests, motility and morphology. Ayan. So, naglagay lang ako dito. This is, I think, galing to sa Strass or Branzel, if I am not mistaken. Alin sa dalawa doon. So, delivery of the semen specimen to the laboratory within 1 hour of collection and the documentation of the collection time are critical to evaluate liquefaction. Yan yung sinabi ko kanina. Next, the volume and yung viscosity. Normal volume, class, is around 2 to 5 ml. So, it can be measured by pouring the specimen into clean graduated cylinder. Yung graduated cylinder natin, lagay nyo po dyan, at dyan po natin tinitingnan. Sa laboratory natin, dyan din ilalagay. Okay? Doon ilalagay para ma-check kung ano yung volume ng semen sample. So, an increase in semen volume is commonly observed following prolonged periods of sexual abstinence. Yan. Sexual abstinence, dahil yung secretion, syempre, mag-accumulate yan over time. Decreased amount naman, infertility and problem in semen-producing organs. Ano ba yung mga semen-producing organs natin? Lalong-lalo na yung pinakamarami, yung 60 to 70%. Alin yan? Yung seminal vesicle. Alin yung dalawa na 5%? Yung epididymis and testis. What else? Yung bulbourethral gland. Alin yung 20 to 30%? Yung prostate gland. Alright. Next is your viscosity. Yung viscosity natin, class, related siya dun sa liquefaction. Incomplete liquefaction results in semen that remains clump and highly viscous. Again, yung incomplete liquefaction ay highly viscous. So it suggests a defect in liquefaction process and potentially nagre-reflect yan sa abnormal semen quality. Abnormal semen quality. So, normal viscosity ng semen, dapat watery yan and forms into discrete droplets. So, after liquefaction, yung semen viscosity, ina-assess yan using your Pasteur pipette. Pasteur pipette by allowing the sample to fall under gravity. Hayaan nyo lang malaglag and i-observe nyo yung characteristic ng droplet na mabubuo. Dapat discrete. Paano ba yung discrete? Dapat pagka bumagsak yan, nabubuo pa din yung droplet. Ganon yung ibig sabihin. So, abnormal naman ngayon kung yung semen ay nagpo-form ng string or thread na mas higit sa 2 cm in length. Ayan, 2. Okay, may ilang conditions tayo na associated sa mataas na viscosity. Isa na dun yung high or increased mucus content, presence of anti-sperm antibodies, again, anti-sperm antibodies, and oligoasthenospermia. Asthenospermia. Again, yung conditions na associated sa mataas na viscosity or increased viscosity ay yung mucus content. Pagka mataas yung mucus content, mas magiging thick yung semen. So, this may result from prolonged abstinence. Pagka matagal na nag-abstinence, hormonal imbalances, or infection, katulad ng UTI ninyo, urinary tract infection. So, the presence also of your anti-sperm antibodies can also increase your viscosity. So, these antibodies cause sperm to agglutinate. It's either head to head, tail to tail, or head to tail. O basta, as we go along, mas makikita nyo yan. Mamaya merong sample. And lastly, class, we have your oligoastenospermia. Oligoastenospermia, class, is characterized by decreased sperm concentration and motility. And this may contribute to increased viscosity by creating a trapping effect. So pagka narinig nyo yung oligoastenospermia, gusto ko matandaan nyo tong word na to, trapping effect. Trapping effect which further impairs sperm movement. Yan, bakit? Bakit kaya nai-impair yung sperm movement? Kasi class, di ba, konti. Kanina sabi ko, decrease yung sperm concentration and motility. Mas konti yung sperm cell natin and many of them move weakly or not at all. Kaya ang nangyayari, yung ibang konti na normal na sperm nai-impede because of the surroundings, because of the immotile sperm and seminal debris. So hindi sila makakamove, unable to generate enough progressive movement to pass through the viscous semen. Kaya may trapping effect na tinatawag. Okay? As for the grading, burahin ko lang to. Alright, in terms of grading, class, there are two methods of reporting. One involves using the numerical or quantitative values, while the other relies on descriptive terms. Ayan, yung mga descriptive terms natin. So, yung here, yung quantitative, 0 or 4. Pag 0, watery and forms discrete droplets. Discrete droplets, pagka dinrop mo yung semen, nagpo-form pa rin ng circle drops. Yun yung tinatawag na discrete droplets. Pagka 4 naman, gel-like consistency. And take note, yung viscosity, tinitingnan din natin yan after liquefaction. Okay? Alternative reporting, we have normal, slightly viscous, moderately viscous, and lastly, extremely viscous. So, hindi na natin ma-aspirate because of the viscosity. Yun yung extremely viscous. Okay, next, we have pH. So, pH, class of semen reflects the balance between the acidic secretion of your prostate gland and the alkaline secretion of your seminal vesicle and the bulbourethral gland. Normal pH natin, as per Strass, magkaiba kasi sila, no? Pero as per Strass, we have 7.2 to 8.0 pagka Strassinger. Pagka Brunzell, ang normal doon ay 7.2 to 7.8 as per Brunzell. So yung fresh specimen natin with a pH of less than 7.2, it indicates abnormalities in your epididymis, seminal vesicle, and vas deferens. Again, yung less than 7.2 na pH, it indicates abnormalities in your epididymis, seminal vesicle, and vas deferens. And pH more than 7.8 or 8.0 indicates infection in the male reproductive tract. Okay? So if you want to detect pH and semen, pwede natin gamitin yung urinalysis reagent strip. Yan, yung ginagamit natin sa UA. And the color compared with the manufacturer's chart. So, ganun din. Kung ano yung ginagawa ninyo sa urinalysis, pwede din natin gamitin sa pH ng semen. Next is motility. So, the presence of sperm with the forward progressive motility is essential, critical for fertility. Dahil yung sperm na yan, di ba, kailangan nilang mag-move papunta sa cervical mucus, magta-travel sa uterus, fallopian tube, and dun sa dulo, yung ovum, for fertilization. Kaya mahalaga na makita din natin at matest natin yung motility. So minimum motility of 50% with a rating of 2.0 after 1 hour is considered normal. So increased amount or high proportion of non-motile sperm along with sperm clumping warrants further investigation to assess sperm viability and to determine the possible presence of sperm agglutinins, yung pagdikit-dikit ng sperm. So later meron din tayong ibang discussion for anti-sperm antibody. Yan. So this is from Strass, no? Yung motility grading natin. So for we have 3, 2, 1, and 0. Yung A, motile with rapid straight line motility. Pagka B, dalawa yan. Yung isa, konti lang yung lateral movement. Pero dito sa 2.0, noticeable na yung lateral movement with slow forward progression. And C naman, motile without forward progression, pero gumagalaw pa rin sila. Pero pagka D or 0, mas malala na yan dahil wala ng movement at all. So the interpretation, 50% or more should be motile in ABC. Dapat 50% or more or 25% or more should show progressive motility. Ito, yung A and B lang. 25%. Dapat may progressive motility para masabi natin na normal yung result. And actually class, meron tayong alternative sperm motility grading criteria. So ito yung hindi ganong familiar sa atin, no? Pero actually, ito ay recommended ng WHO lab manual for examination and processing of human semen. Yan, recommended nila yan. Mas simple at hindi gaanong difficult. Alright, so here we have your morphology. Class, kung ang pagkakaroon ng normal number yun of sperm na non-motile ay nagkakos ng infertility. Halimbawa, normal naman yung number ng sperm, pero non-motile sila, of course, mag-lead pa rin yan sa infertility. And likewise, ang pagkakaroon din ng abnormal morphology ng sperm ay nagre-result sa infertility. Again, kung normal yung number mo, pero non-motile, infertility. Pagka naman abnormal yung morphology, syempre, nagkukos din yan ng infertility. So dito, tinitingnan natin yung head, yung neck piece, yung mid piece, and yung tail. O meron dito sa gilid yung itsura ng sperm ninyo, yung illustration of your sperm. Here we have your head, the mid piece, and the tail. So nasa mid piece po, yung mitochondria. Ayan, yung power ng sperm. Nasa mid piece, yung nucleus naman, nakapaloob dun sa head. And acrosome, here, sa bandang taas, that is vital for the penetration. And the cell membrane dito sa side. Abnormalities in head class are associated with your poor ovum penetration. Meanwhile, abnormalities in the neck piece, mid piece, and tail affect your motility. Again, pagka head po ang problema, mahihirapan siyang mag-penetrate because of the abnormalities in your head. So, yung normal length ng ating sperm head ay 5 micrometers long. Yung width naman, yung lapad niya, dapat 3 micrometers wide. So, ayan po yung size ng head ng sperm. And yung midpiece naman natin, 7 micrometers long. And yan yung pinakamakapal dun sa tail natin kasi ito nga yung may mitochondria. Laman niya yung mitochondrial sheath na nagpa-produce ng energy required by tail for motility. Yan. Next, yung tail natin, ito, yung kabuuan, 45 micrometers long. Again, ulitin natin para mas ma-reinforce sa inyo. Class, yung length ng head, ilan? 5 micrometers. Yung width ng head ninyo ay 3 micrometers. Yung sa mid-piece ay 7 micrometers. And yung tail ay 45 approximately micrometers. So, the critical to ovum penetration ay yung acrosomal cap. Ito yung nasabi ko na kanina. Acrosomal cap. Located at the tip of the head. Dito. Yung violet na yan. Yan yung acrosomal cap. So class, meron din tayong tinatawag na Kruger-Strick criteria. So dito naman, it is when you are evaluating the sperm morphology completely. It includes the head, yung neck, tail, acrosome, and the presence of vacuole. Yan. So at present class, yung evaluation ng sperm morphology using this criteria or yung tinatawag nating strict criteria ay hindi pine-perform routinely in the clinical laboratory. Pero ito yung recommended ng World Health Organization. Again, yung Kruger-Strick criteria natin, it is not routinely done but recommended by the World Health Organization. And sperm morphology evaluation sa routine, dapat 30% of the total sperm ay normal forms. Pag strict naman, dapat 14% normal forms. Ayan. So, ito yung illustration ng iba't ibang abnormalities in your sperm. So, ito yung normal, no? Ano nga ulit yung size ng tail? 45 micrometer. O, size ng inyong midpiece, 7 micrometer. Yung length ng inyong head ay 5 micrometer. At yung width ay 3 micrometer. O, dito may double head. So, hindi na siya makapenetrate ng maayos. Kasi nga, double-headed yan. Giant head, hindi rin pwede. And amorphous head, as you can see, wala siyang nucleus. No, ay pinhead, we have tapered head, yung matulis. And constricted head, double tail. So, hindi rin makakagalaw ng maayos kung dalawa yung tail ng sperm. And yung coiled tail naman, paikot-ikot lang yan. Hindi yan magkakaroon ng forward progression. And yung spermatid natin, yung wala pang tail. Class, pang ilan nga ulit yung spermatid natin dun sa stages ng sperm? Ano nga ulit yung 4? Yung mnemonic for that, we have your go, cy, t, zoa. Ano yung una? Spermatogonia. Number 2, spermatocytes. Number 3, spermatids. And lastly, yung spermatozoa. Class question. Saan nga ulit nangyayari yung spermatogenesis natin? In your testis. After, yung immotile and immature sperm will go to your epididymis to mature and para mag-develop ng flagella. Tapos, after some time, kung nag-ejaculate na, dun palang lalabas sa epididymis yung sperm cell. Pupunta yan ng vas deferens, pupunta ng ejaculatory duct, pupunta sa urethra, going outside. Morphology, ito naman ay galing sa branchial, o ganun din, no? Ito yung normal natin, yung letter A, tapos ito, the rest ay abnormal. So, from branchial. Yan, ito, pagka-check natin, under hematoxylin eosin. Dito naman may amorphous head sa pangalawa. Double-headed and tapered pa yung head. So, ano yan? Abnormal yan. Hindi yan makakapenetrate at hindi yan makakapunta sa dapat niyang puntahan. Dito naman, dalawa yung tail. Of course, ang impaired dyan, yung motility. Ito din, hindi rin yan normal since balik yung neck niya, yung sa mid-piece part. Okay? Alright. We are now down to your concentration. So, sperm concentration, class, can be influenced by several factors, including the duration of sexual abstinence, infections, and stress. Yan. Marami pa, pero commonly, ito yung nakaka-apekto sa sperm concentration. And halimbawa, sa initial analysis, no, merong infection pala yung individual. Then after some time, nagpa-check ulit siya, nagpa-examine siya ng sperm at wala na siyang infection, magkaiba po yung sperm concentration na lalabas doon. Kasi nga nakaka-apekto yung infection sa sperm concentration ng tao. So normal concentration of your semen ay 20 million to 250, as high as 250 million per ml. The borderline, 10 million to 20 million per ml. So, medyo mababa na po yan. Mababa na yung 10 to 20 million per ml. Dahil ang normal, dapat 20 million or 250. 20 to 250 million per ml. And yung sperm concentration natin ay piniperform or tinetest natin yan using the Neubauer counting chamber. At ang pinaka tinitingnan natin at kinakount natin ay yung fully developed sperm. Kinakount din natin yung spermatids and yung white blood cell, yung round cell na tinatawag, pero iba po yung counting nun, hindi dun sa may fully developed sperm. Okay? Dilution na most common na ginagamit natin dito is 1:20 pagka nagka-count tayo. 1:20 dilution. Bakit ba tayo naglalagay ng dilution? Mahalaga to immobilize the sperm. Immobilize sperm before counting. And commonly, class, kinakount natin yung sperm sa 4 corners RBC square and 1 in the center. So again, saan natin commonly kinakount yung sperm? Dito, sa binilugan ko, dun sa 5 na RBC square. 5 tertiary RBC square, yung 4 na dulo, 4 na corner at yung isang gitna. Doon po natin commonly tinetest or chine-check yung sperm. Doon tayo nagka-count. And both sides of the hemocytometer should be loaded and allowed to settle for 3 to 5 minutes. And again, only fully developed sperm should be counted. Yung immature sperm natin or yung round cell na tinatawag and WBC must not be included in the counting. But their presence is significant and dapat ika-count yan separately. Greater than 1 million leukocytes per ml is associated with inflammation or infection of your reproductive organs. That can lead naman to infertility. Again, pagka greater than 1 million per ml yung leukocyte, associated yan sa inflammation or infection ng reproductive organs. And yung spermatids na more than 1 million per ml indicates disruption in your spermatogenesis. So this may be caused by viral infections, exposure to toxin chemicals, genetic disorder. Alright. So here class, meron tayong new Bauer counting chamber. At I believe na discuss to sa hematology, no? So here we have primary square. Again, we have your primary square. And each primary square, meron po yung dimension na 9 square millimeter. At dun sa isang primary square class, meron tayong 9 secondary square. Yung apat dun sa 9 secondary square ay WBC square. At ito naman, merong dimension na 1 square millimeter. Okay? O here, sa isang secondary square ng inyong WBC, meron yang 16 tertiary square. At sa 16 tertiary square, bawat isang tertiary square ng inyong WBC mayroong dimension na 0.0625. So saan ko nakuha yung 0.0625? O you just divide. 'Di ba sa isang secondary square merong 16 tertiary, pag WBC ang pinag-uusapan, so you just divide it. Ang sagot ay 0.625. So yan yung dimension ng isang tertiary WBC square. So now, pag-usapan naman natin yung center square. So intended yan for RBC counting. Again, yung RBC, yung secondary square ng RBC, meron siyang 25 tertiary square. O ito po, yung nasa gitna, meron siyang 25 tertiary square. O since 25 yan, paano natin makukuha yung dimension? E di yung isang secondary square, RBC square, divide nyo sa 25, sagot ay 0.04 squared millimeter. So ayan yung dimension niya. And then class, dun sa tertiary na yan, mind you, dito sa tertiary, meron pa yung another quaternary square. 16 in every tertiary square of your RBC, meron tayong 16 quaternary square. So 0.04 divide by 16, ang dimension ng bawat quaternary square ay 0.0025 squared millimeter. Yan. Kindly take note of this. Aralin nyo mabuti, baka itanong sa exam. Okay? And the depth factor is always 0.1. Okay, punta tayo sa sperm count. Sperm count class, ang formula naman for this is the concentration multiplied by your total volume. And ang normal for your sperm count ay dapat more than 40 million per ejaculate. Huwag kayong malilito sa dalawa, sa unit ng dalawa. For concentration, yan ay per ml. Pagka sperm count, ang tinatanong, yan ay per ejaculate. Per ejaculate class kasi minultiply nyo na sa total volume eh. So, ang kinuha nyo na dito, yung total volume. Kaya per ejaculate na, entire ejaculate. Ang tinatanong, if we are pertaining to your sperm count. If it's sperm concentration, per ml lang of the total volume. Again, per ml lang po sa concentration. For count, we have ejaculate in terms of unit. So, wag malilito. Punta tayo sa sample computation. But before that, ito, yung dilution, ang routine na ginagamit natin is 1:20 or yung WBC pipette yung ginagamit. And usually, nagka-count tayo sa 4 corners, na sabi ko na kanina, 4 corners and the center square of your large center square or yung RBC square natin. An average of 2 counts is used in the calculation, and it depends on the dilution used and the size and number of squares counted. So, hindi naman na ito constant. Depende pa rin kung ano yung gagamitin natin. So, pagka nag-lab tayo, mas may intindihan nyo kung paano siya kino-compute at kung ano yung magiging changes pagka nagbago tayo ng pipette, pagka nagbago tayo ng ika-count na square. So, depende pa din. So, 2 scenarios. Scenario number 1, ito, constant ito. Kung gumamit tayo ng 1:20 dilution at nag-count tayo sa 5 tertiary RBC, kung ano man yan, kung ano man yung ma-count natin, i-multiply lang natin yun sa 1 million para makuha natin yung concentration per ml. Sperm concentration sa 1 million. Makukuha na natin. And if we want to get the sperm count, yung result dito, kailangan nating i-multiply sa total volume. For scenario 2 naman, gagamit tayo ng formula. Ito yung common formula na ginagamit natin. Yung number of cell counted multiplied by your dilution factor divide by area times the depth. Yan. Then after, multiply nyo lang sa 1,000. Calculating sperm count, again, ang sperm concentration natin times sperm volume, yun po yung sperm count na lalabas. Sperm concentration per ml multiplied by your sperm volume. Okay, sample computation. Here, using a 1:20 dilution, an average of 72 sperm are counted in 5 RBC counting square on both sides of the hemocytometer. Now, we need to calculate the sperm concentration per milliliter and the total sperm count in a specimen with a volume of 3.5. So kung mag-compute kayo, kailangan kuhanin nyo muna yung mga given. Ano ba yung dilution natin? 1:20. So meron na agad tayong dilution factor, 20. Yung average of 72 sperm, yan yung bilang. So 72 sperm, counted sperm. Next, yung depth factor, 0.1. Yung area natin, 5 RBC counting squares daw. 5 RBC counting squares. So ito, pumapasok siya dun sa scenario number 1. Sa scenario number 1 dahil tama naman, no? 1:20 yung dilution. O saan tayo count? Dun sa 5 tertiary RBC square. So we just need to multiply it by 1 million. So here, in our solution, 72 sperm counted, multiply sa 1 million, ang sagot po ay 72 million. Ngayon, ano naman yung unit na ilalagay natin? Siyempre, per ml, dahil ito po ay concentration. Yung 72 million sperm per ml, multiply natin sa total volume to get the sperm count. So, 3.5 ml, 72 million times 3.5 ml equals 252 million sperm per, what is the unit? Ejaculate. Sperm concentration, ilan? 72 million per ml. Pagka tinanong yung sperm count, edi 252 million per ejaculate. Next. Using a WBC pipette, 88 sperm are counted in 5 RBC counting square on one side and 84 sperm naman ngayon on the other side of the hemocytometer. Now, we need to calculate the sperm concentration per ml and the total sperm count in a specimen with a volume of 4.5 ml. Sige, burahin lang ulit natin. So, again, yung given, kukunin muna natin, no? Ano ba yung mga kailangan na given natin dito? Yung dilution. Since WBC pipette yan, we assume na 1:20 yung dilution. Yung counted sperm ay 88 daw on one chamber plus 84 dun sa isa. So, i-add natin yung dalawa and we divide it by 2. 88 plus 84 divide by 2. The answer is 86. So, ito po yung sperm counted na ilalagay natin. 86. And in terms of area, we have 5 RBC counting squares. Kanina, sinabi ko sa inyo yung dimension ng bawat square, no? So, sa 5 RBC counting square, ilan ba yung dimension? ilan ba muna yung dimension ng isang RBC tertiary square? We have 0.04. Ang gagawin lang natin ngayon, ita-times yan sa 5. So 0.04 times 5 equals 0.2. Yung area ay 0.2. Pero pagka ganito yung arrangement ng question, pwede din natin gamitin yung scenario number 1. Kasi pasok pa rin naman siya, 'di ba? Ang ginawa lang natin dito, dinivide lang natin yung dalawang chamber. Yung na-count natin sa dalawang chamber. So dilution is still 1:20, yung area ay still 5 RBC counting squares, and yung counted sperm natin ay 86. So ang gagawin lang, 86 times 1 million, 387 million per ejaculate. 86 million per ml. Ito na yung sperm count. Yung sperm, Ito na yung sperm concentration. Sperm count naman, 86 million times 4.5 ml of volume. Ito yon. Equals 387 million per ejaculate. The next example is under your scenario number 2, in which you will use the formula for computation. So here, number 3, in a 1:20 dilution, 550 sperm are counted in 2 WBC counting squares. So we need to calculate the sperm concentration per ml and the total sperm count in a specimen with a volume of 3. So here, meron tayong 550 sperm. Lalagay natin dito. And then yung dilution is 20, dilution factor. Sabi, 2 WBC counting square. As you can remember, class, meron tayong 9, 'di ba? 9 secondary square in a primary square. So sa 9 secondary square na 'yon, each with 1 square millimeter unit or dimension. So kaya 2 yung square millimeter na meron tayo dito kasi dalawang WBC counting square lang naman yung tinatanong or yung sinabi na pinag-countan. Next, i-multiply natin sa depth na 0.1. So, here's the answer. 11,000 divided by 0.2 equals 55,000 sperm per microliter. That's the problem, class. Kasi, pag gumamit tayo ng formula, ang magiging sagot niyan ay microliter. So, we need to convert it first. So, to get the sperm concentration, we need to multiply the 55,000 to 1,000 to convert from microliter to ml. So the answer is 55 million sperm per ml. Yan na yung sperm concentration. And if you want to check for sperm count, so 55 million from your sperm concentration, multiply sa 3 kasi yung 3 ay volume, total volume of your sperm, total volume of the entire ejaculate. Kaya ang sperm count ay 165 million sperm per ejaculate. Huwag malilito sa unit ng sperm concentration at sperm concentration and sperm count. Okay? Next example. So we have here 625 sperm were counted in 1 secondary sperm, and counts of 626, 589, 643 were obtained in the second, third, and fourth squares respectively. A dilution was made using WBC pipette and the semen volume is 4.3 ml. So we need to determine the sperm concentration and the total sperm count. Again, ang una po natin gagawin is to check the given. So, ang given dyan ay WBC pipette. So, meron na tayong dilution factor na 20 kasi WBC pipette yung ginamit. Meron na tayong depth na 0.1 at sabi dito, counted in 1 secondary square, second, third, and fourth. So, ibig sabihin, class, 4 yung pinag-countan. 4 yung pinag-countan ninyo ng sperm. 4 na WBC secondary square. So, ilan kaya yung total area counted? So, ibig sabihin, kung 4 yan, edi 4. Kasi nga, 1 square millimeter lang naman sa isang secondary WBC square. Okay? So, times 4. Then, ang problema natin dito is the total sperm counted. So, sabi dyan, 625 plus 626 plus 589 plus 643. O, ayan daw. So we just need to add them all. So 625 plus your 626 plus 589 plus 643 equals 2,483. Divide by 4. So 600.75. 620.75 or 621. So 621 I-round off lang natin kasi commonly rounded off yung ginagamit dito for computation. So 621 times 20, 12,420. Divide by 4 times 0.1, 0.4. So 12,420 divided by 0.4, we have here 31,050 sperm per microliter. Para makuha natin yung sperm concentration, i-multiply natin yan sa 1,000. We have 31,050,000 sperm per ml times 4.3 here. Multiply by 4.3, the total volume of your semen, 4.3. So equals 133,515,000 sperm per ejaculate. Ito yung sperm count. Ito yung concentration. So, ayan. That's all for your computation. Next is your round cells. Yung round cell class, ito yung immature sperm or yung spermatids na tinatawag. Spermatids and leukocytes. Yung leukocyte class, commonly peroxidase positive granulocyte. Yun yung predominant form of leukocyte na nakikita sa semen. Again, peroxidase positive granulocytes. Ito yan. Ito yung sagot here. And must be counted in conjunction with 100 mature sperm. So class, ang tanong ngayon, paano natin ma-differentiate yung granulocytes na yan sa spermatogenic cell and ibang lymphocytes? So gagamit tayo ng stain. Yung stain na yon ay peroxidase. Yung peroxidase stain ang gagamitin natin para ma-differentiate yung spermatids or spermatogenic cells sa granulocytes. Okay? So sa counting ng round cells, dapat makakount tayo ng 100 mature sperm kasi kumbaga in every 100 mature sperm, ganito yung number or ganito yung bilang, ganito yung present na round cells. Okay? More than 1 million white blood cell per ml per ejaculate class indicates an inflammatory condition associated with infection and poor sperm quality. So next class, the formula for round cell. And yung count, yung N dito, yan yung number of spermatids counted per 100 mature sperm. And yung S, yun yung sperm concentration in millions per ml. So halimbawa, meron tayong 35 na na-count na round cell with sperm concentration of, let's say, 20 million. 20 million, tapos i-divide natin yan sa 100. O, 35 times 20 million. 700 million. Divide by 100. 7 million. 100 to. Equal 7 million. Round cell per ml. Ejaculate. Yan. So, ito po yung sagot. Ngayon, i-interpret natin yan as abnormal. Dahil ang normal dapat ay diba less than 1 million per ml per ejaculate ang round cell. So, since ito ay 7 million, abnormal yan. So, increased yung round cell. Possible, may inflammation. Possible, may infection yung individual na nagpa-test. Next one is yung automated semen analysis system. So, automated systems class provide faster results with higher precision and of course, standardization kasi nga automation na yung ginagamit dito and as well as reduce potential human error. Yun din naman yung advantage ng ating mga automated machines, right? It reduced potential human error. Yung CASA class nagpo-provide ng both sperm velocity and trajectory. Trajectory, yung direction of motion. Also, sperm concentration and yung morphology are included in the analysis. Aside from velocity and trajectory, yung morphology and concentration are also included in the analysis. So, mas less yung human error at mas accurate yung result na pwede nating makuha dito sa automated systems natin. Commonly class, yung CASA natin ay nakikita primarily in laboratory, specialized in andrology, at yung mga laboratory na nagsisemen analysis na sobrang dami or nagpe-perform ng high volume of semen analysis. So, doon po natin nakikita yung CASA. So meron tayo ditong automated systems, yung sperm class analyzers, the Cirrus Casa system, automated sperm quality analyzers. So dito makikita natin yung kaya nilang gawin or i-measure. So as we can see, pinakamadami yung automated sperm quality analyzers. It performs concentration, pwede rin natin makita yung motility, yung normal morphology, yung concentration ng motile and functional sperm, as well as the concentration of progressively motile sperm. Yung velocity, sperm motility index, yan, madami yung pwede niyang gawin. And yan po yung pinaka-accurate at yan po yung pinaka-advanced among the three. Alright, so punta na tayo sa additional testing. First one here is the sperm vitality. So sperm vitality class may be suspected when a specimen has a normal sperm concentration, okay naman yung sperm concentration with markedly decreased motility. So suspected. Ginagamit natin dito commonly na stain is yung eosin nigrosin stain. So ang ginagawa natin dito, kinakount natin yung dead cells in 100 sperm. So yung living sperm, yung bluish white, ayan, halimbawa ito. Bluish white, yung dead cells naman, yung kulay red against background, no? Ayan, yan yung mga dead cells natin. And normal dyan, dapat at least 50% or more living cells. So sa 100, dapat more than 50 yung makount natin na unstained or bluish white yung kulay para masabi natin na normal yung vitality niya. Next one is the fructose. Class, if I may ask, yung fructose ay saan galing? Sa seminal vesicle, di ba? Yun yung nagpo-produce, yun yung naglalabas ng fructose. And the causes of low fructose levels, so we have here the abnormalities of the seminal vesicle, bilateral congenital absence of the vas deferens, obstruction of the ejaculatory duct, partial retrograde ejaculation, and androgen deficiency. Ito class, yung retrograde ejaculation, yung ejaculate or yung semen ay napunta dun sa bladder, hindi po lumabas. So, yan yung common cause of low fructose level. So, specimens can be screened for the presence of fructose using our resorcinol test na nagpo-produce ng orange color pagka may present na fructose dun sa semen. Again, pwede po natin gamitin yung resorcinol test if we want to detect fructose in the semen. Yung resorcinol test, nagpo-produce yan ng orange color pagka may presence ng fructose. So, normal quantitative level of fructose ay equal to more than 13 micromole per ejaculate. So, yan po yung normal. Yan yung normal value ng ating fructose sa semen. So, attached on the side is your procedure for fructose screening test. So, we prepare our agent, yung 50 milligrams of resorcinol in hydrochloric acid diluted to 100 ml with water. And we'll mix it, 1 ml, mix 1 ml of semen with 9 ml of the reagent. And then we need to boil. Tapos, i-observe natin kung magkakaroon ba ng orange-red color. Kasi kung may orange-red color yan, ibig sabihin, there's a presence of fructose. And again, normal fructose level ay 13 micromole per ejaculate. More than or equal to 13 micromole per ejaculate. Again. And testing naman, dapat within 2 hours matest natin yan. Or kung hindi kaya, i-freeze natin para ma-prevent yung fructolysis. Kasi mababawasan na yan pagka hindi pa natin tinest within 2 hours or pag hindi natin finreeze. Next is your anti-sperm antibodies. Under normal condition, the blood-testis barrier separates sperm from the male immune system. Again, under normal condition, yung blood and testis barrier natin, sineseparate niya yung sperm dun sa male immune system. Pag nasira yung barrier na yan, whether due to infection, trauma, or vasectomy, yung mga antigens sa sperm ay gagawa ng immune response mismo dun sa sperm, causing the sperm to be disrupted. So para mas madali nyo maintindihan, think of it like this. Yung testis is like a special room. Kung saan dyan nabubuo yung sperm. So there is a strong wall, may wall dyan, called the blood-testis barrier. And itong barrier na to, yan yung nagkikip ng sperm para maging protected sila at para ma-hide sila. Itong barrier na to, yan yung nagkikip sa sperm para mas maging protected yung sperm natin at ma-hide or maitago. Ngayon, yung body natin merong guards. Yung guards na yon, halimbawa ito, yung guards. Yung guards na yan yung immune system. Yung immune system na to, ina-attack niya lahat nang naiisip niya na strange or doesn't belong in our body. Again, the immune system attacks anything they think is strange or doesn't belong to our body. Normally, the wall keeps the guards from seeing the sperm. Ito yung sperm, ito yung guard, ito yung barrier. So, tinatago niya yung sperm dun sa guard. Pero pagka yung wall ay na-break or nasira, yung guard, makikita niya ngayon yung sperm. So, maiisip niya na, ay, yung sperm ay hindi belong sa atin. Kasi nga, nakatago yan eh. Tinatago yan ng barrier. So, ang mangyayari, ina-attack nila at dinadamage nila yung sperm. And sometimes, when the damaged sperm go into the female's body, yung body niya might also think that the sperm are strangers kasi nga sira na. Nasira na nung guards, nasira na nung immune system. So, ang nangyayari, yung female body, may isip na yung sperm ay stranger and gagawa siya ng mga maliliit na attackers. Yun naman yung antibodies against them. Again, gagawa yung female ng antibody against dun sa sperm kasi nga nasira nung immune system. Kasi sira yung barrier natin. So, those disrupted sperm will now cause production of antibodies in the female partner. We have here the tests for the detection of antibody-coated sperm. Meron tayong MAR or mixed agglutination reaction and immunobead test. So this is more of additional information na lang, no? But primarily, yung MAR natin or MAR primarily detects the IgG antibodies. And yung immunobead ay mas specific kasi dinedetect niya not just IgG but also IgM and IgA antibodies. Okay, so here is the example, no? So, galing to sa WHO World Health Organization Lab Manual, 6th edition. So, pagka head-to-head, ayan, kita nyo, no? As you can see, meron siyang agglutination din sa head part here. So, tail-to-tail naman, just like this one, no? Ayan, puro tail yung nagkakaroon ng agglutination. Meron ding iba, tail tip to tail tip sa dulo. Yan, iba-iba yung anti-sperm antibodies natin. Next one is your microbial and chemical testing. So class, we have here the microbial testing. So commonly, pagka nakakita tayo ng more than 1 million leukocytes per ml, so nag-i-indicate yan syempre ng infection, diba, within the reproductive system and frequently the prostate. And routine aerobic and anaerobic cultures and test for CUM, Chlamydia trachomatis, Urea plasma urealyticum, and the Mycoplasma hominis are most frequently performed. Microbial testing. Chemical testing naman, ito yung kanina, yung fructose, yung normal, no? Yung fructose natin, more than or equal to 13 micromole per ejaculate. And yung neutral alpha glucosidase, normal level niyan sa semen ay more than or equal to 20 milliunits per ejaculate. And yung zinc, citric acid, and ACP, these are the normal values. 2.4 micromole, 52 micromole, and 200 units per ejaculate respectively for chemical testing. Next, here, the post-vasectomy semen analysis. So, the only concern here, class, is the presence or absence of a spermatozoa. Kasi kung makakakita tayo ng kahit isang sperm, ibig sabihin, unsuccessful yung vasectomy procedure. So, itetest natin yan monthly, magsisimula 2 months after ma-vasectomy or mag-undergo ng vasectomy yung patient and magko-continue hanggang dumating yung time na 2 consecutive months na nawalang nakikitang sperm kahit isa. Again, specimens are tested routinely at monthly intervals. So beginning at 2 months post-vasectomy and continuing until 2 consecutive monthly specimens show no spermatozoa. So a single motile sperm on a wet preparation is an indication of an unsuccessful vasectomy. Next. And lastly, class, isa pang reason kung bakit natin pine-perform yung seminal analysis or semen analysis is because of the medical legal cases or for suspected rape or sexual assault. So here, we microscopically examine the vaginal fluid specimen for the presence of sperm. And class, mind you, yung motile sperm, pwede natin yung ma-detect up to 24 hours after intercourse. Yung non-motile sperm naman can persist or can stay up to 3 days. And as the sperm die off, only the heads remain and may be present for 7 days after intercourse. Kaya pwede natin talagang gamitin yung sperm analysis or semen analysis for medical legal cases. And the seminal fluid, di ba, contains high concentration of your prostatic acid phosphatase, yung ACP natin. So, detecting this enzyme can aid in determining the presence of semen in the specimen. Seminal fluid contains high concentration of ACP or acid phosphatase. And the more specific method is the detection of your seminal glycoprotein P30 or yung prostatic specific antigen, which is present even in the absence of sperm. Ito yung pinaka specific. And lastly, I think this is the last part of the discussion, the sperm function tests. So ito class, commonly pine-perform lang to sa specialized andrology laboratories kasi it assess not only the characteristics of the sperm but also the functional ability. So itong sperm function test class, pinaka-vital din to lalo na dun sa mga couple na gusto magkaanak through IVF or in vitro fertilization or assisted reproduction dahil mahalaga na dapat sobrang healthy ng sperm kasi sobrang mahal din ng procedure na yon. So healthy yung sperm, titingnan natin yung function niya. Ito yung tests. We have here the hamster egg penetration, the cervical mucus penetration, hyposmotic swelling, and the in vitro acrosome reaction. So lahat tinetest dito, yung functions and yung capacity ng sperm na mag-penetrate at mabuhay despite of the environment, the harsh environment.